What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar going into tomorrow, what's happening with other factors affecting the markets for news involving Apple, not to mention Tesla and Nvidia, and what the charts are suggesting moving forward, in my honest opinion. But before I break down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Mumu link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Mumu, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and this offer ends in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, looking at the market right now, I just want to mention that SPY has been on a bit of a downtrend so far. As you guys can see, it's been continuing to fall and fall and fall. And whether or not this continues will be determined by some data, and whether we get a bigger drop from here or not will be determined by Jerome Powell and the Fed's decisions. So I want to talk about when that's going to be coming out, what you should be watching for in terms of data before I break down these charts. So let's talk about Monday. Monday is going to be tomorrow, March 18th. At 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the NAHB Housing Market Index. We'll see what this causes for the markets. I'm not really expecting much. It's very minor data. But then at 11:30 a.m., we have even more data. We have the 3-month and 6-month bill auctions coming out. This might cause a move here and there, but nothing too crazy in my opinion. Now, for Tuesday, we have more housing data coming out in the morning, not to mention other things like foreign bond investments, returns, and things like that. Everything is kind of minor again for Tuesday. Might just have a very, very chill day because the real crazy day is going to be on Wednesday. Wednesday is when things are going to get real because at 2 p.m., we have two big things coming out. We have the interest rate hike decision coming out. The Fed is most likely going to skip on the rate hike. There's a very, very high probability that's going to be the case. And then at 2 o'clock p.m. at the same time, we have the FOMC economic projections coming out for the first year and the second year projections. That's going to be very, very important. So, what does this mean? The Fed is going to tell us what they anticipate is going to happen to rates 1 year out, 2 years out, and during times like that. That's going to be very important. So watch for this data on Wednesday. Not to mention at 2:30 we have the press conference with Jerome Powell basically giving his speech. So Wednesday is going to be a crazy day. Wednesday is going to determine if the market kind of like pumps or dumps in a bigger manner. So get ready for that on Wednesday. Until then, Monday just has some minor data which could still affect us here and there. Now for earnings, this is like a little screenshot of what earnings are going to look like. If you guys want to like take a screenshot of this or look at it, everything's very minor. I'm not going to talk about earnings for tomorrow. I will talk a bit about them maybe on like Wednesday and Thursday, but I just want to show you guys this in case you're interested in looking into these. This is what the chart is looking for earnings for the week. Now, for the market right now, like I said before, there's a 98% chance the Fed is going to keep rates basically the same during the next FOMC meeting. But for the future projections, such as like June, July, September, right? For the next FOMC meetings in the future, what will the Fed do? Are they going to? Is the market going to likely anticipate like another cut? Is the market going to see another change? We'll have to see what the market ends up seeing once we get the economic projections report from the Fed. So that's going to be even more important. We'll be watching for that as well. Moving forward, the fear and greed index is currently at greed. We were at extreme greed. Now we're just at greed. And we'll see if this shifts more towards neutral, if the market sees more downside. As of right now, we're seeing things looking less strong than before. Market momentum is coming down just a little bit, but we're still at these extremes. But I'm going to be paying more attention to two things. The put and call option positioning is still at greed right now. We'll see if this falls a little bit lower, if anything changes before it tries to continue higher. If this starts an uptrend, if it kind of like pops, comes back down, establishes a higher low, then starts pushing up higher like this could be the start of a potential downtrend that could continue on to SPY. So just be careful. But we need confirmation first. We haven't really broken past the 0.9 level or anything like that just yet. Market volatility is still neutral. We're still kind of indecisive. The VIX is still very close to the 50 daily moving average, but this could change depending on more news and what the market does. Now, there's some news coming out involving Apple reaching a $490 million settlement over what's been happening with the sales comments involving Tim Cook. So that's some very, very important stuff. I mean, we'll see what happens with this settlement coming out. That's a good piece of news. We'll see if Apple prices that in or not. For Nvidia, I just want to mention that Nvidia has something very important. They have the GPU conference that's going to be starting as soon as tomorrow. So we'll see what this causes for Nvidia. As of right now, the share price is very indecisive, but we'll see which way we break. And then for Tesla, I'm seeing another FSD update that has come out. I'm not seeing any other crazy pieces of news besides what we talked about last week so far, but I believe tomorrow morning we're going to find out more. So I have to wait for that. Anyways, what's happening to the market? What do I think is going to likely pan out for SPY and the others? Let's talk about our levels and break down the trends. So right now, I just want to mention that SPY is not looking the strongest in my opinion. There's a nice downtrend that's been established on this chart. It's continuing to make lower highs and lower lows, as you guys could quite clearly see. So the trend is still bearish on SPY. We're on a very, very bearish trend right now. It could continue lower for an extended period of time, but what's going to determine if we get a big break or not, in my opinion, is going to be Jerome Powell. So as of right now, technicals are looking a bit more bearish. Now, when we look at, for instance, like the 4 hour time, pull it up like this, we're still looking a little bit weak. I could see an attempt to try to retest some of these EMAs before we continue lower, but for now, the chart is still looking a bit weaker. So from what I'm seeing, and let me check one more thing before I talk about the levels. The daily chart is still looking a little bit weak to me. We are trying to hold this 508 area. That's going to be a key support. So we're going to be looking for a little pump and drop like structure, and we'll see if 508 holds. If we lose that, that's going to be a big sign of weakness towards 505 as our next level. If it holds this, it could consolidate for a bit. But in my opinion, I think the most likely possibility is this. SPY could pop and drop and just continue to respect this channel. Now, if we're bullish, you want to see SPY break not just 510, but also 5 break this yellow trend line basically, and then get back above 512. If we could achieve a move above 512 and hold that, we could be looking for a break and an attempt to get back up to at least 514 to fill this imbalance. Now, if SPY fails, if we end up sinking lower, you're going to be watching 508.5 as support. If we lose that, there's 507.5, followed by us coming all the way down towards 505.5. There's going to be some levels to watch for. What do I think is going to happen? What is my prediction? Very simply, I think that we're downtrending and we're just going to continue to respect this downtrend. I think that we might pop a little bit, making attempts to rebound right here towards 511 511.7 to 511.5 around here. But I think that the move is going to fail just like how it did on this move and also this one right here. So I think we're going to pop and drop on SPY. I think there's more downside coming. We might pop a little bit, retest this area, and then continue to slow down a bit. And then whether we get a big bounce or not later depends more on the FOMC meeting. So that's the most probable prediction that I have for the time being. Looking at something else such as the QQQ, I'm seeing some very, very similar trends developing. Now, the QQQ lost this support right here. This is actually not a good piece of news. We came below 436, which is where we were supposed to bounce off of, and we had this channel which led to this little drop right here. So I think that the QQQ is going to attempt to get back into this channel, retest possibly like 436, and we'll see if we could get like a big bounce or not. That may depend on Nvidia, but I don't think it's going to be that big. I think it's going to pop a little bit and just make its way down slowly and just continue to downtrend right here. And I think that ultimately I could see the QQQ getting very close to 430 because on the bigger time frames, they do suggest more potential downside. Looking at the daily time frame, we're already below our key support. We have that gap to fill below. But on the 4 hour, I just want to call out 430.76. May pop a bit towards 436 to make our way down to 430. I do anticipate some more downside on the triple Q. The chart is still looking a bit more bearish. For Nvidia heading into its big event, we're very indecisive. So you can see it's been shopping for 2 days back and forth and back and forth. We have 886 as resistance, 872 as support. We've been going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth all day. If you want to break to the upside, you want to see it break 886. If you hold above that, 900 plus is coming. If we break to the downside after the event, watch 872. If we lose that, 862, then 850 are coming. We're kind of stuck right now. And the reason why I want to be a little open-minded on this is because during the event, you never know what's going to be announced. So it's just waiting to be very reactive to that event. So we'll see if the event causes some kind of like downside move to Nvidia or not. As of right now, we're just chopping. We're very sideways, so we'll just have to see how it goes. That's it for Nvidia and a couple of others. Let's talk about Tesla before I break down a few more charts. And by the way, for Nvidia, besides it being kind of like indecisive, as you can see, even though it's been trading a little bit sideways, there is a somewhat slight, very, very minor uptrend that's kind of being respected here. So it might kind of pop a bit, come back down, continue to trade sideways like this. I'm not really expecting a whole lot from it. It's just kind of stuck still. So look at this range. It's still kind of range bound. So it might just continue to remain in the range. And then we'll see what the event causes. Do we get like a big break? If we lose once again 872, a bigger drop is going to be coming. 862, then 850. If it breaks higher, we could make that pop move to the upside. So watch for that very carefully. For Apple may try to pop off the news about the settlements, but I'm not really expecting anything too crazy. Look at the charts, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back. So I think that we could push towards 174 again. It is possible we hit this resistance, but once we reach this resistance, we have some tight levels and we could get a big rejection. So watch for that very, very carefully. And we'll just have to see how things go. So I could see a little pop, watch 174's resistance. If we do come back down, watch 172.5, then 170.9. It might pop a little bit, retest the 174s and reject again, just remain in this range. To be bullish, you have to try to break the highs from here. We haven't done so yet. So I think we're going to see another test and then a rejection. So that kind of favors the pop and drop move on SPY. I see that as a real possibility. On the other hand, Tesla, of all things, is showing some strength. We look at Tesla. We have a nice double bottom leg formation after this attempt to bounce off the falling wedge. And as you can see, we have a nice accumulation structure right here. So with the double bottom, there's a very good chance Tesla might get a reactive move to about 168 plus. This also correlates with the current accumulation on the 4-hour time frame. So this aligns with the 20 EMA, maybe a little bit lower than that. But I think that Tesla could push for at least 168 to 170 if we get that bounce. There's a very good chance it's going to happen for a temporary rebound. I'm not saying I'm super bullish on Tesla's going to 200. I'm simply saying it might rebound a bit because it's due for a small bounce after getting so much downside. So look for a test of 168 to 170 and see if Tesla could hold that. I do believe it's going to pop a little bit more, and then we'll see what happens after that. All right, guys, so that's it for the main five I typically go over. Now let's just talk about a couple more. I just want to mention that when it comes to the markets, we're going to be looking at Rivian. Rivian right now is a little bit indecisive. It's also kind of indecisive. I think it might retest 11.5 and come back down and just continue to trade sideways for a bit. But we have to try to get back above 11.78 to turn bullish. We haven't done so quite yet. For SoFi, SoFi is on a bit of a downtrend, it's trying to base at 7. If we try to hold above 7, we could retest 7.27. If we fail to hold 7, we're going to be sinking towards 6.8. The chart is showing some weakness, but it's continuing to consolidate at 7, so it might just trade sideways for now and then attempt to rebound later. Looking at ARM, we're looking kind of weak right now. I'm seeing a rejection potentially coming. Could pop towards 129, then eventually start sinking, or just sink from here, but I do see it coming back down. I think it's going to break below 125 soon, looking kind of weak. On the 4-hour time frame, Supermicro is looking a little bit weaker, but it might backtest 1,091 to 1,100. So look for a retest of this in the morning. If we reject off this, we're going to be sinking all the way down to about 1,025. If we break past 1,100, we could push even higher again. But the chart's trend is a little bit more bearish looking. It's been continuing to downtrend. So I do see it most likely kind of popping and then dropping and coming back down lower, ultimately towards the lower 1,000s. For Palantir, I think it's going to be testing 22.74. May pop and drop or just drop from here towards 22.74. For the IWM Russell 2000, this is just trading sideways. So it's trying to hold 200. We have resistance at 203.6. I think it's going to try to retest 203.6 to 204, this area right here. And we'll see if this thing rejects or not. If it breaks past this, it could push higher. If it fails, it's going to come back down. So I think it's going to pop a little bit higher, then might end up rejecting. So watch for that very, very closely. For Microsoft, Microsoft, in my opinion, is kind of stuck right now. It's stuck between two important EMAs. Watch resistance at 417, watch support at 413. Whichever way it breaks will determine which way it goes. But the chart is looking a little bit weaker, so it does favor that this thing might actually retest 413, maybe drop a little bit more. So I'm seeing some weakness in the chart. Just to be safe, watch for confirmation. We have to lose 413 to turn more bearish, so watch for that. It might test 413 and we'll see if we bounce or not, but there is a risk of it coming down lower. On AMD, this chart's looking a little bit more bullish. I think that after dropping so much, we got a nice bounce and it could attempt to test, in my opinion, 193.82. And if we break that, we're going to be looking for a push all the way back up to at least 196. So watch for that very carefully. I could see a little bounce or an attempt to do so, and that's going to be very, very key for the time being. For the VIX, I just want to mention that the VIX is kind of indecisive too. Back and forth price action. Watch 14.29. If we lose this, we're going to be sinking all the way down towards 14 flat. If we bounce off this, we could be pushing to 15 plus. As of right now, it's kind of in the middle, so we'll see how things go. I'm just going to be just like really patient for now and just see what FOMC causes. Otherwise, this might just continue to trade sideways. For Coinbase, in my opinion, is looking a little bullish. We have to break 242. If we break this, we're going to be pushing all the way up towards 256. If we reject off this, we're going to be watching 236 as support. If we lose this, a bigger drop is coming. My guts tells me this might try to bounce a bit, and we could be looking for a pushback up towards the 254 area. We have to try to break 242 first to get that bounce, so watch for that. For Google, We're kind of flat right now. Watch 142.5 as resistance, 141.15 as support, followed by 139.76. But the chart is starting to downtrend just a bit. If we lose 141 look for a drop all the way down to 139, I do favor that somewhat more looking at this trend. So it looks a bit more bearish to me. For Amazon, we're looking a little bit weaker because we rejected off the 50 EMA. I think that there's a risk of it coming down all the way towards 173, and then we could come all the way down to about 170, just under 172. So I could see it actually dropping a little bit more from here. It might try to retest 175, and we have to break 176 to turn bullish. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it might retest 175 and just continue sinking, and 172 is a real possibility. For Meta is still looking kind of weak. If we fail to hold if we fail to get back above 486.5, I see it coming all the way down to 476. So it does look a bit more bearish to me with the double top leg structure. This looks bearish to me. It might pop and drop or drop all the way down to 476 and bounce. So just be very, very careful. But with that being said, guys, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. I hope you guys had an absolutely incredible weekend. The weekend's not over yet. We have some time left, so please enjoy what life has to offer. And with that being said, please take care. I just want to say to everyone that it's very important to remember what we do with our lives. Life is very, very limited. It's very temporary. So let's make the most of it. Let's have a great time and let's absolutely crush it for tomorrow. Right. So for tomorrow, I'll be back at about, it depends on where you are, but basically before the market opens, I should have a video coming out, a morning video, of course. And when it comes out, I'll try to give you guys more insights on what the pre market is suggesting, and I'll give you guys more predictions from there. With that being said, take care, guys. Do what you have to do, and I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow morning. Thank you for listening, and peace out.